Hi everyone. So far we have learned about a few topics under the race category: segregation, the idea of whiteness, and slavery. The primary document I chose for this week is a picture of Ruby Bridges, and I will show you how this image relates to each topic that we have already studied. As we saw with the Rosa Parks story and the segregated buses, schools were also segregated in the 1950s and the 1960s. With changes in the law in New Orleans, schools were to be integrated. Ruby Bridges was the first African American to attend a white school in the South. Before she was able to go to the school, she had to take a test to prove she was eligible to attend a white school. So, according to this document, the biography of Ruby Bridges, they made the test really difficult so that black children would fail and cannot enroll in the white schools. The purpose of this was to keep the white schools segregated, and this changed when Ruby passed that test and attended the school. Also, as you can see in the picture, Ruby is surrounded by men to protect her, and these men were U.S. Marshals. They had to protect her because her life was in danger. The parents of the students attending the school still had a segregation mentality, so they would stand outside the school in protest and threaten her life. Some parents even withdraw students from the school because of this. After a year, tensions were reduced and people began to come around on the school being integrated. As we all know, whites benefited more in society than any other race. Blacks were not seen as equal to whites, so they did not receive the same benefits. Ruby Bridges' parents wanted her to go to a white school because it was closer and have the resources to provide a better education. According to PBS.org, blacks received about 12% of funding for public education, but they made up a third of the South school-age population. Because there is less funding than white schools, black schools only had lower quality education. As you can imagine, not having enough money means that the school could have less teachers and less school supplies that is beneficial to the students. So whites benefited more and had more rights than black people. The less funding that blacks received was all a ploy to deprive them of some of the benefits they would receive in a racially integrated school system. Whites did not want blacks to have the same education as them because, as you guys see, black people weren't equal to whites. The picture also helped to have an understanding of the mentality that white people had even though slavery was abolished. Ruby was just a little girl, and she was threatened even though she was just a kid. According to digital history, blacks were still seen as second-class citizens, and as a result of the oppression they faced, they struggled deeply. According to this document, it said the statistics were grim for black Americans in the 1960s. Their average lifespan was 7 years less than white Americans. Their children had only half the chance of completing high school, only a third the chance of completing college, and a third the chance of entering a profession when they grew up. On average, black Americans earned half as much as white Americans and were twice as likely to be unemployed. So even though slavery was abolished, the slavery mentality and the idea that blacks were inferior was still rampant in the 1950s and 1960s, and some even feel this way today.